Welcome to the ZuluOne podcast. Today I'm joined by Melody Foley, president of the Hairpin Arts Center in Chicago. She's an artist, educator, and community leader working where art and healing meet. Her background includes education, ecological art, yoga, breathwork, and family constellations, all rooted in one belief: healing happens in community. We'll talk about her journey, her work at the Hairpin, and how she thinks about connecting and care. Let's begin.
In Chicago, so my body's full of ghosts. My father's father haunts me. Now he's drowning on the coast.
Melody, how are you?
Wow. I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Good. What came up for you on the meditation?
It's strange. Once we get to the great-grandparents part, I do feel that warm glow, right? That embrace and whatnot. And then during the parents and grandparents, I just feel just tumbling and just wrapping around with it, and it's that integral hierarchy part of the constellations that I honestly wrestle with, for sure.
That's the work, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I haven't landed on a part of me, and I won't say that I haven't landed on it. It ebbs and flows.
Okay.
It ebbs and flows for me of just being grateful I'm here and I'm alive.
Is that an awareness that you got to recently, or is that an awareness that you've always kind of had through the modalities that you've done?
In particular, with the constellations, the hierarchy kind of always is like it just doesn't sit comfortably for me.
Oh, I love this conversation. Okay. So what is,
We're
can you,
gonna get into it,
yeah,
I
let's
guess.
do it. Let's do it. I love this.
Okay.
And Melody, one of the things that I really like about talking to you is that you're extraordinarily smart and you have really good takes on things, and you've seen constellations from many different perspectives. So us unpacking this is such a cool place to do that and explore the edges of these conversations. Are you open to doing that?
I'm open.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. So, all right, let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of the hierarchy part.
The good, the bad, the ugly. I feel that when I got to that great grandparents part,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, like, too much information
Okay.
about them,
Yeah.
right? I don't know everything. I've studied my own ancestry, and that is how Alicia and I actually bonded to begin with,
Oh, that's
because
cool.
I was on this ancestry path for 10 plus years beforehand. My aunt and I, we meet regularly. It's our way to stay connected, and we do just research. I am an intensely curious human being, and I just want to know all of their stories. How did they get here to America? 7 out of 8 of my great grandparents are from Ireland, right? And so a lot of those records are a little wishy-washy. So it's an arduous task, right? My mom was also adopted. So I went on a quest to find her biological parents. It took me 3 years because I had no information, and your genetics is kind of measured in centimorgans. So I just narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down over the course of a couple of years. And I was able to find her biological parents to find out a little bit more of where I come from and what are their stories. And when I think about family constellations, you do them systemically, you do them shamanically, you do them personally, but then you also do them like as a society.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And how that affects them. So then it makes me wonder, how did my great grandparents, what was happening in Ireland, right? Of course, obviously, and
Yeah.
that's why they came here. What were the original traumas that
Mm.
started to be passed down and passed down and passed out, and the non-inclusion, the suffering, the famine, the all of these things, and how the societal constellations kind of impact the personal ones, and then we take that all on and then give them as gifts to our children.
Yeah.
It just takes you down a path that leads in so many different directions that sometimes you don't even remember what your original question was. But as far as the hierarchy is, sometimes people just don't have great parents sometimes.
That is That is accurate. Sometimes we have challenging relationships with our parents. The beauty of the work with constellations is that sometimes that's our story. That we come from sometimes two systems, right? That we come from the biological system and then a adoptive system. So that creates
Mhm.
dynamics, right? And I love this about how I've seen you look at this is like your curiosity is like you're uncovering this like tough stuff, right? And you kind of peel back the onion and you're like, okay, all right, the next thing then you see this like I almost can see you wrestling live with these concepts, right? You're like, okay. And then you like your curiosity kind of beats you in a little bit and then you like take it in and it's just really cool to see from your perspective and how you look at that. And what you were talking about, the ancestry gives a lot of information, right? It's like you started this journey of figuring out where you come from 10 years ago, right? And that's what constellations is, another iteration of what that looks like. And
Mhm.
in the word hierarchy, the simplest way that I can put it, it's a hierarchy of time. There's people that came before us, and there's people that came before them. There's people that came before
Mhm.
them, and there's people that came before them, right? So on
Yeah.
and so on and so on until, the original, however your belief system is, if kind of fish slash reptilian thing crawled out of the ocean, or we cracked out of an egg, or came from a different dimension, or whatever your belief system, that is the path that hierarchy really speaks about, the people that came before us, right? And that the hierarchy is of time rather than a hierarchy of structure, or a hierarchy of a social hierarchy. Does that make sense?
It does, and in some ways, you're really tapped into my brain right now for
Okay.
some reason,
Okay.
because that's the other issue is the time component, right?
Yeah.
Because the work we do as parents helps heal our children,
Yes.
right? And the work we do as just regular humans in a family system or societal system helps heal the whole system.
Mm.
But when we talk about time, if what we're doing right now is healing our children, right? That's not now, right? And so, like, the future is now, the past is now, everything is
Mhm.
now, right? So, when you talk about hierarchy of it being time, if everything affects everything systematically all at the same time, how could it be a hierarchy of I was born first, she was born second,
That's a
she was
great
born
question.
third,
That is a
if
great
everything is
question.
affecting everything all at the same time?
That is a great question because it is all the above. And how I look at it is it's all the above, right? Because there is a constraint of us in time where we are now, right? That we are here in the here and now. But there's the
Hmm.
superposition that happens in systemic work, right? In systemic work is we kind of collapse all those things into one and deal with the resonant, right? And we deal with that entanglement that's happening cross generationally, because in
Hmm.
constellations you see, in one way, the hierarchy of time of there were people that were before us and there'll be people that are after us, right? In most cases, right? Also that we can, when you assign a role to somebody, even if it's the time and distance are completely irrelevant. So we've
Hmm.
done constellations online, and then somebody that's in Australia, you give them the role, like you ask them, will you please represent my mother, and suddenly they start sobbing. It's like this person is, it's not like it's like light speed, it's not like it took some time to travel that distance for us to send the quantum message over, whatever we want to call
Yeah.
that thing, right? But immediately you have this feeling, and then it does collapse to this resonant piece, which is really interesting. But we do
Hmm.
also operate in the here and now, and the here and now does have a time factor, right? Is that we all are governed by the same laws of physics that say, if I was born in 1983, I am 42 years old, right? And nothing's going to change about that. And my mom was born in 56, right? So, and then her grandparents were born and their grandparents were born in a time, and I come from a lineage line that has that. The constellation portion gives me a modality to navigate through those passages, to untangle, give back, and do all that stuff, and then come back to the present. Does
Absolutely.
that
And
make
it
sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense that time is just, revolutions around the sun, right? It's just it's not it's just a change, right?
Hmm.
Everything that's moving, everything that's changing is alive. If we stop moving, if we're stagnant, we're
Yeah.
we're not live. It does make sense, and we need that context to make sense of things
Yeah.
for sure. It just becomes chaos then, and you could lose your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You need a system.
you need a system, exactly, and that's
Mhm.
the part that we interpret these phenomenons across. Everybody has phenomenon. Before constellations, I was like, I don't like that person's, whatever that is, right? And like,
Yeah.
you felt the vibe of a room. It's like, oh, and then I remember going out, and if I had kind of this rule, it's like if my mom said she had a bad feeling, I wouldn't go out. Like whatever that. I don't know what that is, right? And then now in constellations, we have a language to it. There's like probably sometime in the past during that time when she was a teenager, something happened, during that time, and that I could, out of loyalty to the family system, be repeating a pattern that I'm subconsciously entangled with, right? Those
Mhm.
vibes now we have some structure to, and some language to, and some phenomenological understanding of, right? So it's like uncover that. So you bring up a really good point. This is a aspect of constellations that I haven't explored yet. So I'm fascinated by your take. It's a really good one.
Yeah, I agree. And those little voices that you speak to are phenomenally important in our life.
Mm,
And I feel that um, when we experience trauma, when we experience a life of anxiety, and even the people that move frantically, or the people that kind of implode on themselves and shut down and move very stoically, right?
hmm
It's still a form of anxiety.
Yep.
We stop listening to those voices because we question it, because we don't trust ourselves, we don't trust our experiences, or we just turned it off in
Yeah.
some regard.
Like, it's a great observation, because we come with this intuition that as children we have, right? And that trauma cuts off and blocks us off from that intuition. And that's the work that we come back to this remembering of who we really are, right? It's like, religious aspects have one understanding of what that is, and a spiritual have a different definition of that. And then, new age energy has a different way of it. Like, so all we're talking about the same phenomenon, right? We're all talking about the same kind of coming back to, bringing back to the whole, bringing back to the one, going back to the creator, whatever you want to call that thing, that we all interpret the same phenomenon in the same different language. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, how have you seen, with the work that you've done, and I was going through, and you've done a lot of modalities. What have you
Mhm.
seen shifts at, like, what have you seen where the most shifts have happened? What brought you to constellations, and how did you get into that world?
I think originally, like I said, I just am really interested in the whys of everything. Why does everything work in a certain way? I just study everybody and everything all
Mm,
of the time. And I'm just vastly interested of why people act the way that they do. Why do they make decisions the way they do? And understanding yourself better is understanding your patterns, your behaviors better. And I'm completely dedicated to always, as you say in ZuluOne, working on your shit.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is kind of the number one
um,
principle. It's our guiding.
yeah,
It's like our guiding chant.
yeah. So I think that's kind of where it stems. I lived most of my early life. I was very quiet.
Mm,
I know it maybe seem shocking now, but I was very quiet. I was a very quiet observer. I was almost invisible. In fact, oh wow, I don't know why this story popped in my head, but when I was in second grade, my teacher put an apple in my mouth in class. And she said, "You need to learn how to enunciate and say your thoughts out loud."
oh wow.
Because I wouldn't talk. I was so quiet. But I was just observing everything. And
Mm,
that's not valued in American culture. For sure, it's not valued. Um, there's like this indigenous poem about when I first started teaching. I used to read it all the time about, my child is not slow, my child is not behind, my child is observing the world and taking in all of this information to do with it something later, right?
mm,
And you're learning, you don't have to be loud all the time to be taking information and formulating your thoughts, to have a deeper understanding of what's going on. So with that said, your question, where have I gone? Where am I now? I think I'm in the phase of my progress of just, being a person. It's in my body, right?
Mm.
The things that you have to let go. Your body stores your experiences, your parents' experiences, your great grandparents' experiences, and that's where you got to let it go because you can't solve everything in your brain and in your head.
Yeah.
And I'm a logical thinker, and I think that there's always a solution to everything, and I can solve any problem. But sometimes that's not what you need to do. You need to move your body, you need to
Mm.
release, and you just need to enjoy your life and hum and sing and, take a walk in the forest or on the beach. And that's life. That's enjoying your life.
And I know that you've expressed like that release in like an artistic form, correct? Like you do paintings and you do creations from upcycled
I do.
materials and the and we'll get into this and I love this part, right? It's like the Hairpins Arts Center is kind of a manifestation of that creative brain of seeing and doing and connecting with healing and art and movement, and it's just such a cool place to do that. Tell me a little bit about when did that activate? How did that come out? What did that process start?
So I've been teaching for over 20 years now, and my teaching style has always been very, very creative.
Mm.
And any opportunity that I have to run an after school program or connect with students on a deeply artistic level, creative level, understanding who they are as people more so than doers and producers of material, I do so. And I worked for this organization in Chicago called CAPE for a very long time, running after school programs where we worked with working artists, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And my boss there said, "You know what? You're a really good problem solver. Would you like to join the board that I'm on?" Um, called the Hairpin Arts Center. I said, "Sure, absolutely, I'd love to." Then COVID hit, right?
Mm.
Not too much, a year or so after, no, 2 years maybe after I joined, and so we were completely closed. We had nothing going on for that whole time, nothing. Then when we reconvened after COVID, we had a meeting, reusing word meetings, and I became president. And I made the decision to open it that September, right at the tail end of COVID. And it's grown and grown and grown. And it's a place where people can express themselves, commune with themselves, or commune with other artists. And we have right now 6 branches. We have the tech arts, the visual arts, performing arts, functional arts, cultural arts, and of course the healing arts.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? And this and I got some information, right? And it's like it was almost like, the hairpin represented the community. It was
Mm.
like empty and cold for that time during COVID. It's like it was like a visual community represent and man, I can't believe I missed this, but that as you guys started putting attention into it and pulling it apart and doing this stuff, like it had all this from all this time that during COVID that things like literally kind of went into like death mode, right? It's like everybody was trying to figure out if the world was going to continue, if everything was going to happen. And then to see where the hairpin was when you guys were there to where it is now, it's like it's a completely different place. And it's thriving and it has all this energy and it has this beautiful movement in it. And it has, there's events constantly happening and, the local government gets involved and then you guys doing the breath work and then arts, you have art ex- expos and it's like really cool to see that it went from it almost has this hero's journey. It's like there was like this place and then it went through like the dark period, right? It's like in the wandering in the dark forest and then came out emergent as this just beautiful creation that is it's just really incredible to see. It's I can't and I want to just commend you on how I know how much work you guys put into this place because people that listen to the podcast, my sister's intimately involved with the organization, right? So it's just been really cool to see the trials and tribulations and the victors and then the victory and the win and all the stuff that you guys have gone through. It's just really cool to see that that process unfold and how you guys have like really taken in and done the work.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Feels good. It
Yeah.
feels really good. I would say if we are resurrecting something that was, dead, if you will, right? If we're going back to movement and change is life, and non-movement and stagnicity is death, we're probably in our
Mm,
toddler era. We have so much to grow, we have so much to move, and it all comes down to systems and slowly, organically in implementing systems. I don't ever want, as long as I'm a part of it, it to be run like a corporation
mm.
or, this, I'm the head of this. Here we go back to hierarchy. I'm the head, I'm the boss, right? I very much want things to grow organically.
Mm,
I want us to be able to listen to community. I want people to join all of these committees, because if it's just one person's ideas, it will go stagnant very quickly, right? And so it has to grow organically always. And we have to listen, and we have to be open and accessible. And that is our guiding principle right now, is just how to increase accessibility, like
mm.
all the time, with having systems in place so we protect ourselves, right? Having boundaries and systems and things. We're just not open to everything. Just do what you will with me, universe, right? But doing it in a way that's careful and thoughtful and with integrity.
Yeah, that's a hard balance. That is 100% a hard balance to be, because what I hear kind of in your words is like it's emerging a new style of leadership that's more systemic leadership, more emergent leadership, more like custodial leadership, that servant leadership that we have, that there's another way of doing it, right? That we can say these are the agreements that we're all going to agree on, but I'm going to serve you and you becoming the best version of yourself, and you're going to serve me and becoming the best version of myself. But at the end of the day, somebody has to make the decisions and be the kind of the Sherpa of this thing, and then move forward with what that looks like. Not from a. If you'd like to attend one of our events, please check the description below. We'll provide details and registration information for an event near you. If you're enjoying this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It truly helps us with the algorithm, and this allows this message to reach more people. No noise, just clarity and real transformation. Thank you. Authoritarian kind of process, and it brings me back to constellations. Is like the facilitator is not the leader of the constellation. They're not the one saying top down, this is how it's going to happen, this is what we're going to do. This is, it is very much that we do this together with the person as the facilitator. So we are side by side with the person, and we take them as far as they're ready to go. And that
Right.
is that service, that servant leadership. And I think that's what we're talking about, because the old paradigm structures that we used to go through, right, is talking about this kind of emergent movement of servant leadership that's really systemic, because you can see that understanding the forces that had, we're not necessarily rejecting them, we're integrating those old patterns into a new curiosity and a new way of doing things, so we can move forward as in a new paradigm. And I'm so excited
Right.
about that.
Absolutely. And the facilitator, your energy, your nervous system, how the way that you're moving into the field obviously directly affects the system, right? The constellation that you're having, um, because that's just the way it is. So, but you do also have a responsibility as like the facilitator,
Hmm.
as I do with maybe a facilitator,
Yeah.
right? Is I need to protect those that are in the system, right? Not to control them. Sometimes everybody has different boundaries. Everybody has
Yeah.
different expectations of what is typical or what is okay, or how we interact with each other and okay and everything. So we need to make sure that things progress in a certain way, but that everybody in our system is protected, and we're looking out for them,
Yeah,
for sure.
much like parenting, right? It's like I became a better leader when I became a parent, right? So, because you understand fundamental human systems, you say within the bounds of these things, you can do whatever you want,
Mhm.
or you can explore and have the play in a safe capacity. And sometimes that safety can become oppressive, right? There's like, I'm going to constrain this to not do that, or it can become irresponsible on the openness of it to be like, oh, well, just, free range, whatever, and then suddenly it's, Lord of the Flies, right? Type of situation, or then it's like this
Yeah.
dictatorial, like very strict, doesn't have anything, and it doesn't leave any place for curiosity or exploration. So it's like it's that fine line of like great boundaries, right? Great frame, and that you can explore and do the stuff within this, and you just see people and kids and human beings thrive when there's some structure around this stuff, and that's what I think what's happened the most with the hairpin is like there's been some structure that's been in place and direction, and I've seen you work through this in such an incredible way. It's like it was really cool to do that because I, at my core, am a rebel. I want to rage against the machine, right? And I want to be
Yes.
like, I have that core wound of rebelliousness, right? It was because I am, what was that? I'm a middle child, right? I'm 100%. I am the concept of a middle child, and so I like, oh, I'm curious about that, and oh, I'd like to do that, and I'm like, why is this wrong? And then I'm like, fighting the system, right? And through this work that I've done personally on my own shit, is that I found that I can be both, right? I can be the one that
Mhm.
uncovers the dynamics that are not aligned, the highest version of what this can potentially be, and also maintain my facilitation and my service and lead from that place because if you look at my life you can say, oh, he's the CEO of this company and he does this stuff and he's facilitating and he's very masculine, and I was in the military and I was a mechanic and all that, but also I have this side that is I create art and I'm a musician and I paint, right? And that happened after some deep healing work that I started doing. So you can see right above, that's that art is mine, right? I created that. It's like the chaos and order, and I conceptual designs, and it was really cool to see that. But that's, I think that's the dichotomy that lives in all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And nurturing that, it makes it so much better. Yeah, I think that's where we are for sure. In those that want to, as you say, rage against the machine, right? It was very easy when obviously there's, patterns in family, there's patterns in society, and all of the greats who were able to tell the future, and then Nostradamus and da 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 da. They studied patterns, right? They
Hmm.
all they did was study patterns of what society does, the ebbs and the flows. You can clearly see when you have, society that's very, very conservative, right? Then there's a rage against the machine. There's a rally against it, and then it becomes very, very loose, and then very liberal, and then it goes da da, and then it goes back, and then it goes forth. Da, 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 da. Now in this era, 2026, with the advent of just the world being so global and in society being so just accessible,
Mm.
right? As far as like knowing what everybody is doing all of the time, sometimes it's hard to even know what is the counterculture, right? What is who are the rebels? Who are the people saying things? Who are the people that are railing against the machine, right? And it's hard to know what you're even fighting against or fighting for right now because we're in such a flux
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
The part that I really encouraged by is the raging against the machine is the loving of our own wound, right? It's to like,
Hmm.
oh, my rage against the machine is actually the rage that I feel against the unexpressed emotion that I have. And that like that switch that is like I can't rage against the machine. It's like I have to look inside of me and find where my wound is, and I've got to deal with that stuff. And my rage really is the ungrieved sadness that I had as a child. You're like, okay, fine. I got to deal with this crap again. It's like that's
Yeah.
that responsibility, the radical responsibility. That's like the hero's journey. This whole thing that we do is like, it's like we're transforming, and I think we have this great opportunity as a society is that we can no longer hide from the fact that we have a wound. The only way out of it is through it, and that we deal with our stuff and we work on our things. However, you do that through yoga, meditation, kung fu, breath work, constellations, traditional thought therapy, spirituality, religion, however you get to that place of finding deep alignment and finding peace, that's kind of everybody's challenge is to say the more you heal, the more I heal, the more we heal as a society. And that's the piece
Hmm.
that we can take in our hearts, right? To say, I can't, there's some things that I can't change, and there's some things that I can. That serenity prayer, right? And the wisdom to know the
Hmm.
difference is like
Yeah.
there's such, and pops up. You see this pop up everywhere. It's like it pops up in Al-Anon, right? It's like it pops up in that world. It pops up in scripture. It pops up in medicine work. It pops up in breath work, and it all pops up in constellations. And like there's these universal real like truths that we see that kind of connect all these, that weave these chaos things together. As you know, in constellations, like it gets harder before it heals, right? It's like we're going through as a collective society that part of like our car didn't start, the systemic resistance, right? Our car didn't start, we got there late. We have whatever the things the system is throwing in our way to prevent us from moving to the next level. I think this is what we're in the thick of it right now, to say we have this opportunity.
I agree. And I feel that when we get to that edge, that precipice of like the edge of the hard part before it reaches over to the next hill, let's be honest,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. The second mountain,
To
yeah.
the second mountain, right?
Yeah.
It's so important. And when you said when I heal, when you heal, when we heal, da 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 da, all of this, the collective healing is necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary for the world. And there's so much, anybody who is interested in working on themselves, improving themselves, trying to be their truest, highest form of themselves, right? It's not something that you can take lightly, right?
Mm.
It's not something that is for the timid, right? You have to be bold with it. And it doesn't matter what you do, right? This is not an ad for this modality. This is not oh, you should do this, right? The
Yeah.
shoulds need to go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever aligns with you. And there is every I don't know of any other culture or that says you're going to be the greatest form of yourself by running into the woods and never seeing a human again. It's all collective. When you have one or more people, that's we bounce our nervous system off of each other. We are all vibrating at whatever frequency we are, and healers, great healers, don't have a magic superpower. We are borrowing from them their amazing regulation and seeing how it feels. And our body gets to relax for a second and say, wow, that feels better. I'm
Mm.
going to try that.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's an act of responsibility. Like what you just
Hmm.
mentioned, there's like that act of like, because this factor of like loyalty is such a complex factor. It's like I am so loyal to my system that I'm going to carry this wound, and healing feels like betrayal to a broken system, to a wounded system. And so like you see in society now, people are like carrying that wound so tightly and then using that wound as a weapon, and to say like they're playing their part, I'm playing my part. Somebody has to stand up and say enough. I choose to heal. And
Yeah.
you start breaking those patterns, and now you see it in society. As we speak right now, somewhere, someplace, one person's bombing the crap out of another. It's like, what if somebody says, I'm done? Said, I'm going to choose to heal. I'm going to choose to break the cycle of the victim and the perpetrator. And I know in Chicago, there's a lot of that cycle is just amplified, and you amplify the victims and you amplify the perpetrators, and it goes, and creates this chaos, and it creates this stuff, and it creates more stuff. And it's like, how? What if we can bring the victim and the perpetrator both into the circle? Do we have the courage to do that?
We do. We do. We have to. We have to.
Yeah.
100% you have to. They're both included because perpetrators most often started as victims.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, people who perpetrate against other people, who dominate other people, were victims, or not that they use it as like weapons, but well, there's two things. You're using this as maybe not a weapon, but also if you stay in the victimhood of if I let this go, right? If I don't ruminate about these things that hurt me so deeply, number one, who am I now? Right? Because who am I now? Who is my identity without having this identity so tightly wrapped around who I am? But then number two, when you meet someone new or a new group or a new job or a new neighbor, whatever it is, if they don't know, right, your harms and your hurt, and if you stop moving as a hurt person, right? How will they know my pain, right?
Mm, yeah.
How will they know my
Oh,
pain?
yeah.
If I just move so freely in the world and I move boldly and confidently and I make all the decisions that are not rooted in self-sabotage and they're not rooted in holding me back and letting me shine, how will they know I'm so hurt?
That is one of the most profound statements I've heard in a while because it's like none of you have suffered as much as I have. That meta narrative of like the person that is going to that I think that's the transformation from the victim to the perpetrator. Right? Sleeping Beauty when like the queen becomes the dragon, right? It's like that narrative is
Mhm.
like I'm gonna come after you. And it's like it just really explodes into that righteousness. Tell me what's in store in the future of the hairpin. I know you guys are doing some really cool things. Like are you I know breathwork's happening at the hairpin. I know family constellations, art expo. How is that evolving and what is the future and what's the magic wand in 7 years that you see the hairpin and what does that community look like?
I would say the magic wand is our directors
Mm.
who we have had kind of starting to lead the branches. They are starting to bloom. And there's always this kind of default setting that I find that people have. My way of leading is not always typical, right? Because I want people to shine and I want to support people, and I'm okay with not being on stage with the mic in my hand. And oftentimes, gosh, we just keep going back to hierarchy here. People want somebody to tell them what to do.
Mm.
And it's so ingrained of people in their uncomfortability with, and I don't even want to use the power, but autonomy, maybe agency, and saying, I want to support what you want to do. I want to support what your group and your community wants to do, right? You've been invited here, right? You have my full and complete and utter trust, and nobody is perfect, but I will be by you and I will nurture your creativity. I will nurture your leadership. I will be here, because I'm strong enough for you to lean on me. And I just want to see that continue to grow and grow and grow. And I'm going to say I am confident enough to not know where that's going to go and be really happy about it.
That's great. What came up when you were saying that, it's almost like you're like a teacher leader. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like
Maybe.
you meet people where they are and you foster an environment where they can grow into the leader that they can be. So it's like there's a very big like teacher component to the leadership style that you have. So it's like there's great effectiveness about it because you can bring everybody up from where they are to be that teacher that they can become, but also you have to go down to meet people where they are in that kind of hierarchy of their leadership style, right? To say they're like a baby leader and then getting into, a middle schooler leader and then there'll be a high school leader and there'll be a university PhD type leader, right? To say how you grow that aspect and their leadership blossoming that they have those innate skills, but then you give them the structure to do that and that like from educational aspect may be an interesting aspect to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think you're right, and I heavily, heavily rely on. One of my greatest gifts is I'm always thinking. It's a gift and a curse at the same time, right? I'm always thinking. I'm always trying to look. I look at everything at every angle all of the time, and it's like I'm playing chess with everything, and so I'm a great connector.
Hmm.
And when I meet somebody, I said, you know what? I'm going to introduce you to blah, 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 right? Because when people that have the same thinking or they have similar goals or whatever it may be, sometimes it's contrasting things, and they unite, the dreams become bigger. The
Yeah.
goals become bigger and everything becomes bigger. And I think that's where we are at, of just thinking bigger and dreaming bigger. And what we have a real opportunity here. And with the real opportunity, we have a real responsibility.
Hmm.
It's a responsibility, like we could do more, all the time.
What you described right there is systemic leadership. Is like to look
Mm.
at problems from a bunch of different angles, to look at it and to connect the people, to connect the dots. Is like you, and I've seen you do this. Like you almost manage in systems. Like you're looking at the whole, but also have a capacity to go into the individual and connect the dots, and then go back out to the whole and look at the whole piece from different angles. And you say, hey, this is what the ecosystem looks like, and then like you're leading the ecosystem itself, and that's systemic leadership in a nutshell. How you approach these problems is like an ecosystem, right? And you can see the forest for the trees, and
Hmm.
I see that in your process, and that's really what you're describing is systemic leadership.
Absolutely. It's important. It's critical. It's critical when you really at your core care about people and you want people to be involved. People's greatest strength sometimes are their core wounds through family constellations and other containers and things that I've been through. I just want to be included. I just want to be included. And so I always notice when somebody is not included.
Mm,
And I don't want them to feel sad. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel them be lonely or outcast or, it really is a great pain for me when I see somebody who is not cared for or included or accepted into the tribe or the community or whatever setting it is. And it's a driving force, and I know it so intimately. It's like when you think about people will say, um, people who are racist, they know everything about the culture or community that they're racist against, right? Because they've studied it, they've done this. It's like kind of a horrible thing, right? And they're obsessed with it. And this was my wound, and I studied it, and I dissected it, and I did all these things, right? But at the end of the day, it's one of my greatest strengths.
well, those pieces is also like the wound is the clue. It's like if somebody's, there's this guy, his name is, I can't remember his name, African American jazz musician, right? Or he plays blues or jazz, and he's collected over 250 or some ungodly number of KKK robes just by simply seeing the other person. And he was like in a bar, he was like, he's saying, he's like, he was in a bar playing music, and suddenly the Grand Wizard, Master, whatever, I don't know what they're necessarily called, but came and he started having a conversation. And he's like, "Well, I don't connect with your kind," or said something of that. It's like, why not? And it wasn't
Mm.
Bob, you're raised, like just that exclusion of it, but brought the that perpetrator energy in and closer. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
tell me, okay, let's have the conversation. And then he like won over one guy that was like, what my ideology is so, comes from such a wound, comes from such a place of exclusion, comes from a place of not understanding and not having connection. And then he did that with another person, and then did it with another person, and then another person, and then he speaks on a national level on creating connection with people that you have a great opposition with. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's such a beautiful thing. And what you're saying is like, we can include with the alchemy of healing, right? Because if we include with the wound, it creates chaos. But if we include with the alchemy of healing, it creates connection. And you truly see somebody with their wounds. And it's like you see family constellations in prison, you see family constellations in community systems, you see family constellations in broken families, in some of the most difficult, painful human dynamics that we've all seen in constellations. You see all that stuff. What it is creating connection between all the pieces that are supposed to belong. That first principle of constellations is the principle of belonging, that everybody, regardless of the circumstances, has a right to belong to.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
oh, that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, man.
Every person that is it's the perpetrators, right?
Yeah.
Who are ultimately victims,
Yeah.
and that's systemically, white supremacy and all of these things.
Mhm.
It's bound by wounds and
Yeah.
frailty and fear. It's fear, and
It's
it's
fear.
power, and it's
Mhm.
all these things, and like it's.
I'm one to be like, I want to do family constellations with white supremacists,
Ugh,
because the
I know
lines of victims and perpetrators run through every human heart. It's a thing.
it is.
Yeah. So, Melody, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can contact me through the Hairpin Arts Center. You can also, I'm the smallest acorn on every platform. You can go to my website, smallestacorn.com. It's just it's my core principle is that every tiny little idea that you have can grow into the biggest, strongest thing, the mightiest oak, right?
I love
Small
that.
acorns to mighty oaks. So that's how you get a hold of me.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And Melody, I know we've been planning on doing this for a while. Thank you so much for coming. It's been such a cool conversation, and I know it's going to be one of many. So as things
Absolutely.
come up and shift, and that 7 year plan of what things are going to look like, those directors blossom. I would love to have you back and continue this conversation.
I would love it as well. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the ZuluOne podcast. If you found value in today's podcast, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything to us, and thank you for being part of this journey.